Welcome back to episode 6 of the Iceberg series. So far everything's been going relatively smooth. We recently got our 4th colonist who has some pretty fantastic stats. Unfortunately she's the wrong ideology, so the colonists are still in the progress of converting her to the right way of thinking. You know, our way of thinking. Otherwise, Cerberus and Moss have been living quietly in the Iceberg. Sarah's managed to build up quite a few mechs and is on the cusp of reaching the next tier to start building scythers and lancers. Both of those would make things quite a bit easier. But now we need to get more steel. Well, it certainly didn't take long for more steel to arrive. Surprisingly, the food part of the drop isn't really that exciting, but the slag is incredibly useful. It's going to help out quite a bit. Add that to the list of things that need to be hauled. There's a lot the lifters need to get to. Between the recent meat pods, the rice growth, and the fishing, the freezer's starting to become a bit overfilled. We're going to have to turn some of this into chem fuel, I think. But in the meantime, we can at least cut down on the amount of fish that's being brought in. Let's set the maximum fish count to 50. I think that'll work. When they bring 50 into the freezer, they'll stop fishing until that number drops. Interesting. A combat trader has arrived. Well, let's see what they've brought. There's not much to trade, but Sarah can at least offer the extra weapons from the last couple of raids. Well, at least whatever ended up surviving. Let's go ahead and keep anything that can be smelted into steel, though. That doesn't really leave much to sell, but at least we can buy a few medicine. May as well get whatever we can whenever we can. Who knows when extra medicine will come in useful. Now we just need to smelt this slag and those weapons. Then we can see what our steel supply is sitting at. Up to 145 steel. That's not too bad. Now would be a good time to use some of that steel to put more concrete floors down, I think. Honestly, this place would look so much better with floors. Admittedly, we probably should save enough steel to get the next set of mech structures going, but let's do floors first anyway. There we go. That's looking really good. Way better than those ice floors. Let's also start putting more lights in the hallways. Not only do the floors help with movement speed, but light does as well. It would be great to get each of these hallways lit up with wall lamps. Might as well throw a few more floors in here too. We need a path that leads up to the mortars so they can get there a bit quicker when any raid hits. Alright, looks good. At least all the most important hallways have paths and lights now. That's good. Oh hey, now Nug is down to 20% certainty. She's almost done with this whole conversion process, and then we can just release her right back into the colony. Since she was already a colonist, we don't have to bother recruiting her again. When she gets released, she's just going to join straight away. Well, once we've converted her. One of the things the colonists need to work on next is getting a few bedrooms built. You know, in retrospect, they could have dug out this particular room a bit more efficiently. They could have left a few strips of ice in to act as walls to separate the rooms, but instead they're going to have to reconstruct the walls. Well, construct the walls, but you get what I mean. Unfortunately, the only material that's immediately accessible is jade. Luckily, that won't be the worst bedroom wall. We're going to have to see if the added wealth causes too many troubles. It's going to give a lot of impressiveness, and, well, at least it's not flammable. Unfortunately, jade is worth quite a bit of wealth, though. Okay, the walls are finished. Now it's just a matter of getting some floors installed and then moving the beds in. Once the floors are in, they can just move the beds from the barracks over, so they don't have to build entirely new beds. I don't think we have the resources for new beds anyway. The floors are going to be carpet, as long as there's enough cloth. In order to limit how much cloth is required, we might have to install some concrete as well. We'll see how that goes. Oh, a visitor's waiting out front. Let's go ahead and see what they brought to trade. They're certainly willing to buy a ton of items. We've got a lot sitting around. But the question is, what can we get in exchange? I'm not sure they have enough to warrant getting rid of all this. Nope, there's just not enough to trade. We could grab the plasteel club and smelt it, but honestly, I don't think it's worth the trouble. Let's just get rid of a couple items and be done with it. Alright, more cloth has been harvested from the hydroponics. Let's keep putting it into the bedrooms as it comes in. It might take a while, but sooner or later we're going to have enough to move the colonists in. Let's go ahead and also throw a couple new shelves in to store any extra steel that we might get. Okay, that'll work. It looks like the amount of cloth we're growing is not going to be enough to finish these rooms in a reasonable time. Let's adjust things here a bit, and we can throw a few squares of concrete into each room. That'll at least cut back the total number of cloth required to finish this project. Okay, there. Shouldn't be too bad now. Oh, nice. Even more steel has landed on the map. Right in the middle of the polluted ice. Probably not the safest place to be walking through, but we can just force the lifters out there. That'll be perfectly fine, I'm sure. Nug is finally getting really close to believing what we want her to believe. Moss and Nug talked about eating lentils, and then Nug chatted with Sarah about rocks. Talk about compelling conversation. Now we know how they're converting her, at least. Bore her until she can't handle it anymore. Agrees to whatever they want. Down to 7.1% certainty. Hey, it's working. Oh, Moss is causing more trouble in the colony. Turns out the yayo has not been enough to keep him happy, so he's doing the only thing he knows how to do. Go for more yayo. Sarah's going to have to go out and stop him from hurting himself. After all, it is her brother, and she's got to take care of him the best she can. Even if that means stopping him from snorting too much yayo. Looks like after Sarah was done dealing with Moss, the sleeping spot was left in place, and the colonists took the opportunity to move Nug over into the frozen closet. Ideally, Nug needs to stay in the barracks, so let's get her back in there where it's a bit warmer. Much better than a cold closet. Hey, before they brought her back, at least Moss managed to reduce her certainty a bit further. That's good. Next up, we need to make sure we get a couple heaters installed in these rooms. I think one heater per 2 bedrooms should be good. Things have been nice and calm recently, but that's come to an end with a group of raiders from the Ranyo kinship arriving on the ice. And it's a breach raid, so we're going to have to make sure they don't smash up the ice before making their way inside. Hopefully we can pick off all the breach axe raiders first and make things quite a bit easier. Let's get the colonists out to the edge of the ice before the raiders make their way across. Oh, nice. The first one dropped quick. And there goes the second one. Looks like the breachers have charged way ahead of the rest of the raid, so this should be pretty quick and easy. There we go. All the leading breachers are down now, so we just need to start picking off any that make it too close to our side of the ice. Many of them are down, but enough have made it across that the colonists have no choice but to retreat back to the nearest entrance. At least they can hold here, and hopefully finish the rest off. Well, it does look like there's at least one more breach axe raider, but hopefully that's the last one. And now many of the archers have taken to just firing shots at the plasteel walls. Well, that's not going to get you anywhere. The colonists are going to head east and try to flank while they're distracted trying to smash the plasteel. Nice, that worked perfectly. Enough of them have fallen and the rest of the raid's fleeing. At least now there's a ton of steel weapons that can be brought inside and smelted down. Now let's see if there's any of those tribals that are worth recruiting. Oh wow, Dragon is fantastic. Jogger and really high shooting skill. I think we should try to recruit him. Well, before Rissa could tend to his wounds and bring him in, a siege has arrived to make things more difficult. Okay, Sarah, get on the mortars and start firing before they can melt the iceberg with their incendiary shells. Well, the first hit at least did a bit of damage. Hopefully it slows them down. Good, Dragon made it into the prison, and Risa got his wounds tended. Now to focus fully on the siege. Ugh, they landed a shot squarely in the barracks and destroyed the TV and the chess table. Why'd it have to be the TV? Oh, another one has taken out the table and a couple of the kneel pillows. Well, this isn't going very well, but at least the colonists are safe for now. Jeez, the siege has just taken a ton of damage from our mortars, but they're still not assaulting. They really are committed to drawing the siege out and trading shots. I'm not sure who that's going to end worse for. It looks like worse for the raiders. Another a couple shots, and they're running for their lives. Well, fortunately a fair bit of the siege equipment survived to bring back inside. And on top of that, all the colonists survived and are completely intact. Nice. The barrack sure is a mess, though. Yeah, we can clean that up. This is perfect timing. Right after the siege, Nug has been converted to our proper way of thinking. Now that Nug has rejoined fully, she's going to make a wonderful moral guide, so let's go ahead and sign her to the rule now. Oh, and the rituals also gave enough reform points to finally reform the ideology. That's good. Now we can finally get around to adding human primacy and making Sarah a production specialist. She is going to lose the ability to perform a couple tasks, but the other colonists can pick up the slack. And we may as well add another ritual in while we're at it. Why not? Now that Dragon's occupying one of the rooms, we need to make sure the heater gets installed so he doesn't freeze to death. Actually, it would make more sense to move him to the barracks like we did with Nug. And then our first colonist can move into a bedroom now that the heater is installed. That will work out pretty well. There we go. Now Sarah has a bedroom. And it only took 6 years. While we were busy getting Sarah moved in, a bulk goods trader has appeared overhead. Let's see if we can buy a bit of steel from them. First off, we can get rid of some of the clothing that we won't need in the immediate future. And then we can trade away some of the leather. Let's throw in some of these miscellaneous things that we have in small numbers. That gives us a total of 200 steel. Not bad. Before the ship flies off, let's try to sell some of these gravelite panels that have been sitting out in the snow for years. It's kind of surprising that they're not completely ruined from the ice and snow, but that's space tech for you. Instead of more steel, this time around, let's get this advanced component. We're going to need it pretty soon. Alright, perfect. Good trade. Oh, wow. Now a caravan has stopped by, and it's another bulk goods trader. We can sell off anything that remains that wasn't in the footprint of the beacon, at least. There's actually quite a bit here that the colonists missed out on trading before. All of this is worth 250 steel. That's way better than I expected. Now we have a huge pile of steel to go through. Now the question is, what are we going to work on next? Well, isn't that just wonderful? While we were hauling in all these new resources, Nug has snapped and is going right for the Psychite. If we don't stop her, she might end up doing permanent damage to herself. Unfortunately, that does mean she's going to lose her role that we just assigned to her, but we've got no choice. Sarah stopped her, but now we have to give her her role back again. Nothing like your moral guide binging on hard drugs. Well, now she's our moral guide once more. Hopefully she doesn't try that again, anytime soon. Now, let's get down to using up this big supply of steel that we've just acquired. For starters, let's get some more floors put in, and then see about lighting up some of these hallways. Good to see that Dragon's resistance is already going down pretty quickly. Only 9.5 to go. That's not too bad. The second bedroom is floored and ready for a bed. Let's get one moved in, then the second colonist can finally have their own bedroom. There we go. Since Rissa was the second colonist to join, it's only fair that her seniority is respected. She gets the next bedroom. Maz can have the one after this. Now we at least got the other heater built and the vent started, so the rest should be able to move in pretty soon. Looks like precision rifling tech has just finished. This is great timing since we recently assigned Sarah to be the production specialist. She can start making new assault rifles with higher quality and get everyone equipped with better rifles. Plus, once Dragon joins, he's going to need one as well. For now, it's best if Nug's chain shotguns gets replaced with an assault rifle so she can have a bit better range. Don't get me wrong, chain shotguns are fantastic, but the range is going to be a bit more useful here. Let's see if we can convert Dragon using a ritual and speed this process along a bit. And it was ineffective. He went from 100% certain to 100% certain. Well, no loss at least. On the bright side, his resistance has hit 0, so now we can just full-time convert him. It won't be too long now. Let's take a peek at how they've been trying to convert him. Nug encouraged Dragon to discuss lovers? Nug expressed interest in Dragon's eyes? Alright, then. Let's move on. In other news, a young child has crashed on the ice. Unfortunately, we cannot take her in right now. She's paralyzed and will be for some time. There was some disagreement amongst the colonists as to whether they could make room for her in the hideout, but ultimately, it was decided that she should be rescued but could not stay permanently. Hopefully we can help her get on her feet again, and back to her parents. She's a member of the Empire, so we can try to return her to them. In the meantime, she can sleep in the barracks. Oh look, a Thrumbo is self-tamed. If only we could keep it. Unfortunately, the penguins are the only pets that we can really sustain at the moment. I think we're going to have to put it down. And we can make the best use of it that we can. At least it'll make some nice clothing. Plus, the freezer's looking pretty empty at the moment, so I guess things will work out for the best. At least the best for the colonists, not so much best for the Thrumbo. But that's the way it goes. There was a suggestion that we should name the Militors Hank, Dale, Bill, and Boomhauer, and honestly that's too good to pass up. There we go, the Militor crew is complete. Now the question is, what will we name the first Scyther when we get it? We've been working hard on our way towards converting Dragon, and he's about halfway there now. You know, a little party right in front of his face, that'll show him what he's missing out on. Hey, it was fun. And as a reward, another child has offered to join. But truth is, we really just can't take a child on at the moment. Sorry, little buddy. Our callousness was immediately paid back in turn. Raiders from the Ranyo kinship have arrived. Man, they really don't look happy. They're attacking from 3 different locations. And there sure are a lot of them. Let's at least take out as many as we can before they cross the water. Hopefully 1 or 2 will get blown up by the explosives we have waiting for them. There's so many of them, if we don't retreat now, we're going to be overrun. And probably eaten. These seem like the cannibal types. Let's pull back into the halls and see if we can keep pulling them in, try to spread them out a bit. Well, it's immediately become clear that it wasn't a great idea to separate the Militors and colonists. So many of these raiders have flooded in and clumped in the hallway. Luckily, enough have dropped to rout the first group. There's still 2 more groups fighting, so keep firing. Several are still outside of bashing on the walls. Let's see if we can get more of those down to get the rest running. Okay, there we go. The last few were pretty resourceful and survived for quite a while, but they finally went down. Now we have an absolute mess to clean up. It's pretty clear the lifter bots are going to need a bit of help with this one. Ooh, uh-oh. Looks like Maz has already got an infection from one of his wounds. Let's get that tended right away. Oh, he self-tended and it was not great. Well, as long as the rest of the tens are decent, everything should still be okay. Well, quite a bit of the mess has been dealt with, but there's just so much to still destroy and clean. Meanwhile, Dragon has suddenly come down with a flu. It's going to be a bit of a pain, since keeping in the barracks means we can't automatically tend to his disease. Well, Reese's first 10 on Dragon was 67%. That's pretty good. Hopefully that's enough to get him a head start on his immunity. Let's check back in on Moss and see how that infection is progressing. He's up to 68% immunity and sitting only at 58% infection progress. That's really not bad at all. He should make it through with no problem. Jeez, look how much damage Risa took on that last raid. Nearly every one of her body parts were damaged and her torso was nearly destroyed. We're very lucky she wasn't killed outright. Truth be told, that last raid was quite messy, and it's going to force us to really rethink how we approach these larger raids, especially as the size increases. Dragon is not progressing through the flu as quickly as we'd like. Let's make sure he gets a really good tend here, otherwise he might die. We're going to have to use Glitter World Medicine on this one. Ah, 130% tend, that is perfect. That should help him catch up on immunity. Hopefully after that everything's okay. While we were focusing on everything else, Dragon has finally been converted to our way of thinking. Perfect. Now we just need to finish recruiting him and we'll have our 5th colonist. Oh, hey, a sandstone meteor. Let's get that mined out. It would be nice to finally get a stone cutting table and start using stone walls wherever we can. We're going to have to start working on that soon. Unfortunately, at the moment, we're running pretty low on steel, so we'll need something else for the table. Even with all that steel that came in recently, we've been using it all up as quick as it comes in. Nug finished recruiting Dragon, and he's finally becoming one of us. Now we just need to get him a gun, and then we can have 5 fighting colonists. Well, almost immediately after joining, Dragon has started an insulting spree, and he wants to unload all those negative thoughts that have been building up in his head while he was a prisoner. Well, let's send the team in to stop him. Before everyone else could arrive, Nug has taken it upon herself to put a stop to it. Wait, wasn't she the one trying to seduce him earlier? Gee, she put him down to the ground and he's unconscious. Wait a second. Instead of tending his wounds, Nug has approached Dragon while he was unconscious and now they're lovers? It's not exactly what you'd call a conventional start to the relationship. Well, no judgment. I guess we're gonna have to get them a bed. I suppose we should have seen this one coming after the whole discussing lovers and his eyes. Let's take this opportunity to try to drop a bit of wealth here. We can have the new colonist Dragon carrying a few items outside and try to destroy them with grenades. Ah, a Mech cluster has landed on the ice. Again, 2 guesses as to what type of cluster that is. Well, there is 3 unstable power cells, and those would be incredibly valuable to get our hands on. Unfortunately, almost immediately some visitors have arrived and they're walking right towards the cluster. There's not enough of them to finish the thing off, but there's certainly enough to wake the mechs up and cause some issues. Yep, they managed to wake the mechs up. But they didn't do any damage at all, so that's good at least. Now the mechs are just going to wait out there. Oh well. For now, let's keep all of our colonists far away from them. Well, this is quite convenient. A quest has arrived offering a reward for fighting off 43 manhunting polar bears. The bears would almost certainly charge the mechs and take care of the problem, but they'd also destroy the unstable power cells. Then again, the quest is offering 9 cataphracts, which could be perfect for securing those power cells. Yeah, let's go for it and see what happens. They can go across the water and try to pick off the mechs without destroying everything. Well, that went about as poorly as anyone could expect. Turns out these lasers are really not well suited for damaging mechs, are they? The polar bears arrived before the cataphracts could finish off the mechs, and now it's not looking good for anyone involved. Unfortunately, the polar bears took out the soldiers almost immediately, and now they're going for the mechs. Well, that part's good at least. And there go the unstable power cells. Well, that part is bad. Oh well. At least the mech cluster's dealt with. Now we just have to wait for these polar bears to wander off. Everybody stay inside for now. Later that same day, a communication came across the comms console alerting of a passing ship. It's an exotic trader this time. Now let's see what they brought. We can unload a bit of this yayo and a couple of the penguins. In exchange, we may as well grab a handful of components. Seems like a fair trade. We can replace those penguins pretty easily anyway. These poor lifter bots have to haul dozens of massive rotting polar bear carcasses. At least they can't smell anything. It looks like with what ended up surviving, Sarah's going to be able to make some new bear fur clothing. Well, that should end up pretty good. You know, it's not the most honorable thing, but at least all that gear that the cataphracts dropped can be smelted down, added to the stockpile. They can take some of that steel and make a new bed for the recently developed partners. Admittedly, it is a bit strange to think that all those weapons got smelted down and turned into a bed for them. Oh well, at least they have a place to sleep together now. It's nice to see all 4 of the bedrooms are up and running. They could use a bit more impressiveness, but that's going to have to wait. Now that the carpet in the bedrooms has been completely installed, There's going to be a bit of surplus of cloth that has to be used up. We could just stop growing it, but it makes more sense to keep producing a small amount and put carpet in wherever possible. It's basically free floor that's going to grow slowly over time. You know, all this wood in the barracks can get replaced with carpet. It's equally as flammable, but at least the wood can be repurposed for something else. Alright, already looking pretty good. Hey, another trader has found its way to the outpost. Thankfully it's a bulk goods trader this time, so we should be able to buy quite a bit of steel from them. Let's send Nug out straight away so we can trade before they flee due to the cold temperature. Oh, that is really not great. Before she could make it out there, a group of scythers have sprung an ambush. The traders are right in their path. But to make matters worse, Wally was on a hauling trip right next to where they arrived. I'm not sure he's going to escape this one. Ah, Wally was murdered almost immediately. Poor little robot. The mechs are still preparing, so let's trade before they begin their assault. We can trade everything that we possibly can and try to get that 384 steel. There we go. Hopefully they now leave the tile right towards the scythers. Yeah, it looks like they're doing just that. There's definitely too many scythers for them to handle. The scythers finish off the traders and are heading right to the base. Uh-oh. The path of the mortars is wide open to them. Hopefully we can stop them before they make their way up there. Alright, nice. We did destroy some walls, but all the scythers are dead, and now we can start hauling in all these new resources. Sarah's really making pretty quick work breaking down all these items. Now we have to decide what to do with all this steel. Maybe it's best to add a few more hydroponics in, or perhaps more turrets, or more floors. Hard to decide. We recently managed to build a stone cutting table out of uranium. It saved a bit on steel, and now we can start cutting chunks down into usable material. In fact, Sarah's already cut up what we had. I'll start working on an exterior wall on the south side of the island. Admittedly, it will take a lot of stone, but in the end, it's going to be nice having a wall that the raiders can be distracted by that isn't right next to the front door. Oh, that's lovely. Oh, the colonists are already gathering to celebrate Nug and Dragon's marriage? Wow, that was fast. Seems like just yesterday that Nug was beating the tar out of Dragon. Wait, it was just yesterday. Not literally, but close. Let's see what they're chatting about during the wedding. Risa shared a word about xenohumans with Nug. Hey, Risa's the only xenohuman in the colony. She must be concerned how everyone else feels about it. You guys like Edakeen, right? 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 Well, I hope your marriage is a happy one. At least as happy as it started. That's the end of episode 6 of the Iceberg series. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for updates on all future videos. For those of you who made it all the way to the end, please consider checking out my Patreon to help support the creation of more videos like this one. You'll find the link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and see you for the next one.